to go.
All right, sounds good. Well, welcome everyone. We hope that you are adjusting somewhat okay, and if not, we only have 6 weeks till finals, so then it'll be summer. We will, like Shauna just clarified, we will also meet next Wednesday, and then the other dates you already had down, we will meet as well. So yeah, we hope all is well. Sessions 2 and 3 are also uploaded. Session 1 was uploaded earlier. And then I do have these 2 kind of newer resources, that not newer, but a couple more resources that I found. I feel like if you continue the search for resources, it's just not a bad thing. So I'm going to send those to the chat. You can do save those or do something with those after. To clarify about the FoRT, whether we have it or not, we just talked about certain dates are rescheduled. However, it's still going to be a requirement for that license without those stipulations. So don't give up, keep studying. The goal dates and everything to pass, like we have said, we haven't heard have changed. And then certain sites might be emailing you based on what's happening in that county. If you're local to Milwaukee, it's likely that your test date would be pushed back further than if you looked at taking it in Dalzell on campus, but many of you have moved or things like that. So that's kind of the update. The overall update that we have is that April 16th date, but that email that I pulled up earlier was a student that was rescheduled from their original date, which was June 18th. So just something to be mindful of.
Yeah. And with that too, definitely don't, if you do have to reschedule, that's fine. But definitely don't use that as an excuse to stop studying, obviously. I know it's really inconvenient, and you think that maybe since your FoRT was pushed back, you have a little more time, but this resource, as of right now, we are only here until finals, so we won't have tutoring sessions as of now over the summer. So if you have your FoRT due in October, like a lot of us do, you only have like now's sessions and maybe some next year. So don't give up on the tutoring and don't give up on studying. Study like you're going to take it, pretty quick. That'll get you the most success on your FoRT overall.
Yep. And then I threw in a new slide here, a surprise slide. So I have been pulling out my notes that I took from my personal experience, which I watched 4 hours worth of YouTube videos, which are now taken down. So what I am going to do is, and I also have my Foundations of Reading Jaeger guide, which I don't really have use for anyway, because when I'm making the lessons, I can use the one in the TLC. So this pass plan opportunity, we have 12 people on the chat right now. So whoever's, and my email is right here. So if this is confusing, just let me know in the chat and I will respond to you as we get going on the Kahoot. But I would love it actually, if 5 or more people send me however they plan on passing the test, whether it's a timeline, whether it's the date, what they plan to study, dates they plan to study, a detailed pass plan. And then, of course, that plan's not going to hurt you anyway because you can use it to pass. If I have 5 or more, send me that. I will type up all of my pages of notes and share those out with you. But if I get less than 5, I'll just give them away to one person. In general, though, that Foundations of Reading study guide I will give to the what I feel is the best plan. Most of you already have that. And then as far as the other pages and pages of video notes, which are literally what I use to pass, if I have 5 or more of you send me your kind of personalized pass plan, I don't have any type of criteria. Just in general, I want to see that you guys are giving this definite thought outside of the sessions. Then I'll just type up the whole thing and add it as a resource by next week. But if I have like less than 3 people send it to me, then it's kind of like that, kind of meet me halfway. If I get 5 or more plans to jcham671@uwsp.edu, like I said, flexible criteria, just tell me what your thoughts are. Then I will make that all typed up, organized, If not, I probably wouldn't get to it as fast. I would still give it as a resource no matter what. But let's kind of work together, get another resource out there, and then your plan, like I said, you can use it anyway. So that's my surprise.
That's a great surprise.
Yes, my long, detailed, organized, unhighlighted, fresh notes.
You want to go to slide 181 quick, just so we can touch base on Zoom?
Yes.
Sweet. Yeah. So just to like touch base on Zoom, obviously it's a little different for everybody, and a lot of people are still learning to use it. You might have classes on here, you might not. But just to let you know, our expectations, we don't expect you to have your webcam on. It's totally fine. If you feel comfortable having it on, you're more than welcome to. And then just please keep yourself muted unless you're asking a question or adding a comment. It just eliminates that unnecessary background noise. I know yesterday I was in a tutor training session and someone had their mic on and their family was like fighting in the background, so it was really distracting. So yeah, just keep your mic off unless you're asking a question. And then also with questions, if you have a question and we're talking during that time, feel free to send it in the chat. It'll pop up on our screens right away, and we can stop and answer that question for you at that time. And then our attendance is just going to be taken periodically, so we're going to ask for a response in the chat probably like 2 to 3 times throughout the session. So we just want to make sure that you're present and you're paying attention and you're not just kind of letting your laptop run while we speak, because that attendance is necessary for those who are applying for the scholarships. We want to know that you're here and you're actually paying attention and partaking in these sessions. And our transcripts that we have from the chat are printed for attendance points, so we will see if you're responding.
All right, then we're going to do a quick review Kahoot on some type of phonics phonological awareness. We've had quite a lull of time between spring break and everything, and when we really talked about that, so I feel like the best way before we move on is to just review, get those concepts out there. And then after that, we will dive into our next topic and then talk through that. A lot of consonant vowel blend type questions, getting into nitty gritty about like spelling, and then next session is more on automaticity, fluency, decoding, and then getting into comprehension. So here is the pin thing. There we go. 7231446. All right, here we go. Which of the following is an example of phoneme isolation? Asking a student, what is the first sound in van? The first sound is v. What does b, e, g sound like all together? Big. Bus, bun, and rug. Rug does not belong. Great start, everyone. What is phoneme identity? Children recognize the same sound in different words. The first sound f is the same in fix, fall, fun. What letter does fix, fall, and fun start with? All right, good job. We had 2 right answers there. So phoneme identity, phoneme has nothing to do with that written component of language. So we could rule out this yellow one here where it asks what letter does that start with, because phonemes were really focusing on sounds off the bat, and then focusing on that initial sound or one sound would be an example of identity, identifying that sound. What is phoneme blending? Taking a word and saying each sound separately, combining separate phonemes to form a word, or taking a word and saying each letter with each sound. So this here with phonemes, the yellow we would rule out because we have no connection to that written form of language. So taking a word and saying the letters with the sounds, we aren't working with letters because we're under that phonological sound umbrella. And then combining separate phonemes to form a word. So taking b, I, g, and putting it together, blending kind of as like something getting closer together would make big. Taking a word and saying each sound separately would be the opposite, taking it apart versus putting it together. Segmentation would be the red one. What is a grapheme? So a grapheme, it is a letter. However, it's not always just one letter, so that makes the blue the better option. So graphemes correspond with phonemes, and in the word grapheme itself, the PH is one phoneme, but it takes two graphemes. So that's why graphemes, it's not just letter, it's the letters that represent phonemes, so there can be more than one grapheme per phoneme. Effective phonemic awareness instruction teaches children to notice, think about, and manipulate sounds in spoken language. Great job. Right on. How many graphemes are there per phoneme? Is there just one, or could there be several? Great job. The understanding that there is a predictable relationship between phonemes and graphemes, so the letters that represent sounds, is the alphabetic principle, phonics, fluency, or phonological English instruction. So, like we talked about how graphemes can represent more than one phoneme, that alphabetic principle is really sounds tied to individual letters, whereas that overall sound and written sound grapheme relationship is phonics. I know that was a confusing one there. If there are more questions, feel free to send them to the chat. But out of this question, hopefully you get the alphabetic principle is more specific to individual letters, whereas overall English, as we learned, has phonemes matched with graphemes, and there can be more than one grapheme per phoneme. Phonological awareness is lights out, auditory. Then what is phonics? So does phonics take into account just letters, or it takes into account letters as well as sounds? Which of the following are phonological awareness skills? Counting words in a sentence, listening for syllables, rhyming, hearing or manipulating onset and rhyme. Yep, those are all options. The alphabetic principle and mapping phonemes to their corresponding graphemes are components of phonological awareness, English language arts, phonics, or letter instruction. So which overarching category talks about letters as well as their mapping sound, as well as their mapped sounds, or the sounds they make? So graphemes are the letters that represent phonemes. So again, that tie to written language would have us rule out phonological here. Which of the following is more difficult, phoneme substitution or phoneme isolation? Are they both phoneme tasks, and are phoneme tasks all the same difficulty? Is phoneme substitution harder? Is phoneme isolation harder? Or does it depend on the word? Good job there. Which of the following are ways we can manipulate phonemes? Phoneme deletion, phoneme substitution, or phoneme addition? Yep, so those are all ways that we can work with phonemes and manipulate them. What does phonemic awareness instruction do? Help children to learn to read and spell, help children learn to read, help children learn to spell, help students prepare for phonics. Yep, so working with sounds is always going to help students be ready to work with letters because they're able to say and give meaning to what like a V is. What is environmental print? Print found authentically in our environment, such as labels, signs, print found in print about nature, or print students are directly taught about daily. So the key component of environmental print is the fact that it's not usually directly taught, it's just the print surrounding us. And we're all exposed to environmental print, such as stop signs, food labels, things like that. Which of the following words contains a consonant blend? Start, when, good, test. Sorry, the red one is also right. So if this ruined your streak, I'm sorry, but good job finding those. So when here, although W and H are two consonants right next to each other, they come together to make one sound where we don't outwardly hear both letters. So WH is instead a consonant digraph. When I'm not outwardly saying both sounds, versus in test and in start, I'm saying and can hear both of those. Sorry, red is also correct. Sorry if this ruined a streak. Which of the following words contains a consonant digraph? So we talked about in a blend, you can hear both of them. In a digraph, we cannot outwardly, they come together to make a new sound. All right, good job. In went, these two consonants, I can outwardly hear both of them. So those would not be a digraph. They don't come together to make a new sound. What is a vowel digraph? The vowel version of a consonant blend, a combination of vowels that creates a new phoneme, a blend of vowels where each sound is still heard. Right, good job. What happens to the vowel in a word when there's an E at the end? So think about cane versus can. So how does the way you say the A differently in cane change versus can? Good job. Consonants are more what than vowels? Woo! How many sounds are in grab? This is an example of. So asking a student, how many sounds are in grab? G, R, A, B. So pulling the sounds apart individually. Woo! Phoneme segmentation. Lights on, we can correlate with, aka connection to written language as well as oral. So phonological awareness, we've talked a lot about how that's sound. So lights come back on when we connect that sound to the letters that map those sounds. So that would be phonics. So lights off would be, lights off meaning only auditory. Yay.
So just
How to hold a book, tracking print, title, front and back cover, knowing where those are, examples of book handling skills, phoneme manipulation readiness, or an awareness of print.
And while you're working on this one, for that last question, so when we're talking about lights on and lights off, it's really helpful if you draw like the continuum. So if you draw your umbrella and then the bridge to that, and then phonics, if you draw by your umbrella a light bulb, and then the bridge, I like to consider the alphabetic principle as the light switch, so it's turning the lights on. And then like a light bulb, or a light bulb with a slash through it for phonological awareness, sorry, and then a light bulb with like radiating whatever's by the phonics. That's really helpful for remembering those, because it's really important that you do know that for the FoRT.
So which comes first, phonics instruction or phonological awareness or decoding skills? Yay. All right, Katie, I'm going to unshare my screen so that you can go to presentation. Sound good?
It'll take me just 1 second here. Okay, so, whoop. Sorry, it's been kind of slow today. All right, so then picking up where we left off last time, just a review of phonics. So again, there's several definitions for phonics. You'll notice that when you're studying, but overall phonics is an instructional strategy that teaches about the relationship between letters and their sounds. So it can also be referred to as the study of the relationship between letters and the sounds they represent. Also used to describe reading instruction that teaches sound-symbol correspondences. So again, phonics and the alphabetic principle are different because, like Juliet said, so the alphabetic principle refers to those specific letters and the sounds that they make, where phonics can be a group of letters, such as a consonant blend or a consonant digraph, and kind of expanding on those. And then phonics is also used to teach students those skills and move them along in reading instruction.
So that phonics related instruction, so tying those letters to the sounds that students commonly make is really important for those beginning readers so that they can match out the sounds that they're making with the letters that represent them. So it's not outwardly taking big words and then teaching them just how to spell them. It's really teaching them to match those letters with sounds so that when they come across unknown words in books, they can match they can put each sound in and then blend those sounds together.
So then with that, so we're going to start talking about decoding today. So decoding is the ability to translate a word from print to speech. So that's when the students employ their knowledge of those sound symbol correspondences that they learn with phonics. And it's the act of deciphering a new word by sounding it out, sorry. So it's a critical skill for a child's ability to read fluently and comprehend. So reading fluency and comprehension and decoding all rely on each other a lot. Their relationship is pretty close, I'd like to say. So successful readers basically can break the code between the letters and sounds of a word and can attach meaning to that word. So that's what decoding is used for. So decodable words are words containing phonic elements that were previously taught. And then we talked about decoding a little bit. So relating phonics and decoding. So decoding is the ability to use those letter sound correspondences to decipher words by sounding them out. Decoding requires some effort. So with decoding, there are several strategies. So we have a little visual to the right. And additionally, if you Google decoding strategies, you'll see a lot of nice like teacher representations of decoding. So you can look at the letters left to right. You can sound out each letter. You can think about the sounds of the letters and look for word parts you know. You can break it into syllables and say the syllables. You can blend the sounds together. Is it a word I know? Does it make sense in what I'm reading? And then obviously there's other things that can help you too, such as like context clues or any images that would help the student. Those are all types of decoding skills. So the difference between decoding and automaticity is decoding requires effort. So you're actively sounding out a word or you're actively trying to understand a word in its graphemes, where reading with automaticity is considered effortless. So it comes naturally, it just happens.
So a related question is, phonemic awareness contributes most to the development of phonics skills, so those abilities to match the letters with the sounds, in beginning readers by helping them recognize ways in which one sound can be represented in print, count the number of syllables in a written word, identify in spoken language separate sounds that can be mapped into letters, or D, understand the concept of a silent letter. So we'll have you pull up the chat and send what you think is the best option. And then we'll go into explaining why. Or if you know one that you'd like to rule out, you could rule that out. If you're like, I know it's definitely not this one. So an understanding of individual sounds could help students develop an understanding of how to map sounds to letters in beginning readers by helping them what? So it looks like we're between A and C, recognize ways in which one sound can be represented in print, or identify in language separate sounds that can be mapped into letters. So D, like we said, would be incorrect. The concept of a silent letter in relation to speaking, which is a phonemic awareness skill, would not be beneficial to beginning readers.
I'm really sorry if you hear my cat purring. She's being really
loud. So C, why might that be the best answer?
So does anybody have any ideas? You can unmute yourself and you can throw in some ideas if you answered C. Emily, I saw you.
I was just thinking about like napping.
Oh, yes, Shauna, go.
Okay, so I was thinking between A and C, and when I like first read it, I was like, okay, B and D are definitely not. But then I looked at C and I was like, I think C. But then I like reread it and like kept second guessing myself. But I think it's C because you're mapping out what you already know as like a letter, as like what sounds are the letters, and so the student is understanding how that letter could soon be that sound, and then like spelt like decoding almost. So that's why I think that one is it, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. So those second sounds, or those later sounds that come into play, being able to map more and more of those versus just like individual sounds is super beneficial for, that's the best over answer. But this is a good example of a question where there's more than one answer that sounds pretty good. We got C there. So then one of the reasons of why they were incorrect.
And you can always go back to those if you need to. So the next one, which of the following strategies would be most effective in promoting second graders' decoding of multisyllable words? So A is giving students opportunities to read literature that offers repeated exposure to predictable text. B, promoting students to sound out the individual phonemes that compose multisyllable words. C, encourage students to compare the parts of new multisyllable words with known single-syllable words. Or D, reinforcing students' recognition of high-frequency multisyllable words using drills and flashcards. So if you want to just take a minute and you can go ahead and put your answer in the chat again. Seeing a lot of C, getting rid of D. All right, yeah, so, oops. So why can we rule out A? So giving students opportunities to read literature that offers repeated exposure to predictable text. So by giving students the opportunity to read over and over again, those multisyllable words, that's kind of relying on your memorization, and you know, it's just predictable. And to me, what I would do to rule out A right here is ask myself if this is a best practice. So a student will never learn any literacy skills if they're just repeatedly getting exposed to that predictable text, because they'll eventually just memorize that, and then what do they do, right? So it's incorrect because reading predictable text is typically used with a beginning reader, so it's not appropriate for teaching decoding of multisyllable words. So like I said, it's not appropriate for teaching those advanced literacy skills. So then again, why can we rule out B? So prompting students to sound out the individual phonemes that compose multisyllable words. Sorry, I just want to keep up with the chat here. Yeah, so like Juliet said in the chat, so sounding out individual phonemes in multisyllable words is tedious, and it's going to take a long time to read the text, right? So decoding multisyllable words takes a long time, and it'll take a lot away from the comprehension and everything. So again, that's just something that you should not promote, because once they get onto those stages, it'll be a little complicated. So then ruling out D, so reinforcing students' recognition of high-frequency multisyllabic words by using drills and flashcards. If there's ever an answer on the FoRT that asks you, or an option for an answer that says using drills and flashcards, again, that's not a best practice. The students are not going to really learn anything from that. So you can automatically eliminate that. So it's not appropriate for the students. Excuse me. So it's not appropriate until students have learned to process all the letters systematically and decode the words with a high degree of accuracy. So drilling those students that aren't aware or that don't know those words, how is that going to help them? It probably will not. So yeah, the correct answer was C. So encourage students to compare the parts of new multisyllable words with known single syllable words. So by second grade, students typically learn to read a wide variety of syllable patterns in single syllable words. So since most of the syllables in multisyllable words follow the same pattern as those in single syllable words, primary challenge for the students is learning to decode multisyllable words is learning to recognize words as a series of discrete syllables. So that recognition will allow the students to apply that knowledge of syllable patterns and decoding those longer words. So the strategy described in C is effective because it focuses students' attention on recognizing the component syllables in these words. And again, when you look at this answer, you can, for example, like in pancake, the student might know pan because that's a CVC pattern. And it's a less advanced single syllable word, so they might recognize that right away, and then all there is to decode is that second part, that's the cake part. So just thinking about it that way too is helpful.
So in general, like Katie said, think about when you're answering these questions, think about what the best practices actually are. There are options on the test that you'll come across that will say, Have students guess. Use drills. Rely on memorization. If you think to yourself, is this a best practice? Is this a way students are really demonstrating understanding, and it's not, then you can rule it out. So you should hopefully get kind of excited when you see those options, because you can confidently usually rule them out.
Whoops, I did not mean to click on that. Sorry guys. I'm so sorry. Now the bar's in the way. Okay, sorry again. Okay, so then more related vocabulary. So that previous question used the term multisyllabic. So multisyllabic words are not always compound words, and compound words are, they can be made from two separate words to form a new word. So some examples are raincoat, pancake, earring, snowman, catfish. So it's combining those two words. And I mean, once you think about it too, you can think of multisyllabic words as multiple syllables. So they're not just the one clap, they'll be more than one clap.
So if you come across compound words on the test and you don't know what that is, here's an example of that. And then we have a related question as well. So a second grade teacher asked students to pull two single syllable nouns from a hat, bulb and light. Ask them to form a new word by putting the words together, light bulb. Students then draw pictures to illustrate their new words and write short stories using the new words. This activity is likely to be most effective for students. And then for time's sake, I'll explain each answer while you send what you think it is to the chat. So A, use visualization as a reading comprehension strategy. So this is more about taking words and putting them together. So this is not about visualization because they're creating their own visualization as well. And comprehension, there's not a lot to comprehend. All we're doing is taking two words and making them one. The visual will help them understand that word. However, there's a better option here. B, apply knowledge of phonics generalizations. So in bulb and light, we don't have any really generalizations. These are two very different words. One has a digraph, another bulb has a blend. So we don't know much about the words they're using. So to say phonics generalizations is pretty bold, doesn't really match up. Context clues to identify unfamiliar words. We have no words surrounding the words light and bulb that we're putting together. So we can rule that out. And then D, understand the concept of compound words. So putting two words together and then drawing a picture to illustrate that new meaning is definitely D, understand the concept of compound words. So I do see many D's there. So great job, everyone.
These are just the explanations again. So then for a review, we'll use this as part of your attendance. Just write in the chat what a consonant blend is. So this definition will help you on the next question. So if you want to just go ahead and write that when you get the chance, and then we'll move on to the next question right away. So I'll wait till a couple people put what a consonant blend is in the chat, and then we can go over this question.
All right, seeing some good answers here. So if they were to completely omit the word circus, we don't know much about their ability to decode consonant blends. So I'll go down to D, shortening funny to fun. That's an example of completely removing a suffix. So that again doesn't really align with decoding a consonant blend. I know for sure that the ST sound in best is a consonant blend. So saying bet for best is definitely an error in decoding a consonant blend. And for B, a little bit tricky here, but pronouncing clowns as clones is actually an example of a vowel diphthong. So it's where there's a combination of letters that changes the way that we say the vowel. So their representation of clowns as C-L-O-N-E-S does represent each sound in the word. They use the wrong letters to represent each sound, but they still represent each sound. And that O-W-N, we have a slide to show what a vowel diphthong is, so you have a better idea of what I'm actually talking about and why we ruled that out. But the only really example here even of a consonant blend is the st, st in best. So that's what makes C our answer.
Yeah, and with that too, you don't even have to know what a vowel diphthong is in this case, because the only option that has an error in the consonant blend is C with the best. Consonant blend does not have vowels within it, so that's another idea to think about this question. So these are just, again, the explanations for maybe those who missed today. We just like to keep those on there. So then talking about related concepts, so now we're going to go back over the consonant and or the consonant rules, and then we're going to start talking about vowels too. So just a visual to represent what consonant and vowels are. Hopefully most of us are familiar with that, but vowels are A, E, I, O, U, and then consonants is everything else in between in the alphabet. So consonants, we've already gone over this a little bit, but just to review, consonant letters are fairly reliable. There's a strong relationship between the letter and the sound that we expect it to represent. And along with that, consonants represent the dominant sounds in words. So those are just some generalizations about a consonant. And then just know that there are some irregularities. So a letter may represent more than one phoneme. So a consonant may produce a hard or a soft sound. So we know that, for example, in cat and scent, they both start with C, but notice that they make different initial sounds. So there's a hard C in the sound of cat because it starts with the k, where in scent, it's still starting with that same C, but it's a soft sound because it's making the S sound. So same thing in game and gentle. The hard G is the sound of G in game. Oops, sorry. And then the soft G is the sound of J in gentle or in gem. So those are just some irregularities that you may see. I know the last slide said that consonants are fairly reliable in the sounds that they represent, but do know that they can represent or be a hard or a soft sound.
And then you guys demonstrated an understanding of consonant blends in the chat, so we'll move past this for time's sake. In terms of digraph, two consonants come together to make a new sound.
Sorry.
So they come together to make a new sound. Digraph makes me laugh is a good memorization strategy. The PH makes a new sound, and then laugh, the GH make a new sound. Y is sometimes a vowel indeed. So we will include that on the vowel diphthong slide, so you'll see kind of where Y fits in. We would consider Y a vowel.
That was a good question, Shauna. I was kind of thinking the same thing, and it indeed is considered a vowel.
Mm-hmm. So an example of what you could think is like a consonant blend, like is the word fly, is that a blend? The L-Y, we outwardly hear both of them. The blend in that word would be that, of course, words can have more than one blend, but Y would we put in the vowel category. And you'll see here none of the examples have Y, just because it is not included. So from these examples here, send one example of a blend to the chat and send one digraph to the chat. All right, awesome. It's great to see different examples here because, again, we want to take away that overall understanding of what a blend is for different examples. So we can move on.
So then what is the difference? So a consonant digraph is a blend of two letters that come together to make one sound. And a blend is where two or more letters come together, but you can still hear the individual sounds of each letter. So you guys have, again, demonstrated a pretty good understanding of that. So then talking about vowels. So There are two like main types of vowels that we like to talk about, and those are long and short vowels. So a long vowel is when the vowel says its name. So for example, in grapes, you're hearing the A sound. So where there's an A in the word, you're hearing it say its name. So grapes. Same with like feet, you're hearing E. Kite, you're hearing I. Boat, you're hearing O. Stuff like that, where the short vowel is a little different. So when I say apple, you're hearing the eh, you're hearing the ah sound. So you're not hearing the vowel say its name. So that's the difference between those two. And again, it's really helpful to have like these visual representations, because when you say the words aloud and then you compare if it's a long or short vowel, it really confirms your understanding.
So for young students, vowels are easier to learn. They are more consistent. In CVC words, we always say the short vowels. So like if you think about cat or bit, you're emphasizing that consonant there. And then also via the quiz, the Kahoot earlier, consonants vary more, or consonants vary less. They are more reliable. So if you think about letters like B and M, like when you see a B or an M in a text, you're always going to say the B sound, and like when you see an M, you're always going to say the sound.
Yeah,
So
sorry, Juliet, you said vowels are easier to learn when you first started. Vowels are
Yeah.
harder to learn.
Vowels are harder, consonants are easier.
That's all right. All right, yeah, we get it. Woo. Okay. So then moving on, so vowel digraphs. So similarly to consonant digraphs, so a generalization for the vowel digraph rule is when two vowels go walking, the first one does the talking and says its name. So a vowel digraph is when combinations of vowels together make one new sound, and that sound is the first vowel in that sequence typically. So for example, like on the previous slide, there was boat. So you're hearing the O, but there's two vowels next to each other, and that's O and A. So the digraph is that first vowel saying, the first vowel does the talking and says its name when there's two or more vowels next to each other.
And then diphthongs, we still hear each sound. So you can kind of think of the way that your mouth moves in terms of words like toy. There's a Y example there. We outwardly hear O, E. We outwardly say both of those sounds. In boil, we couldn't say just bowl or bill. We say O-L. So that is the word for when we hear both of them, vowel diphthong. So if you think about consonants, in blends, we hear both of them. Well, we don't have a consonant blend. We don't have a vowel blend. We have vowel diphthongs. So in both examples, digraph, they come together to make a new sound. In consonants, we have blends. In diphthongs, we have two vowels where we outwardly hear both of them. Here are some examples. It's important to note that when you actually say it out loud, you can understand the words better. So choice, we outwardly say both of those. However, beer, we say B-E, B, and ear. So we say both of those. However, if the letters surrounding beer were R and D, such as read, or the letters surrounding E and A, read, where we only hear that E-E-1 sound, those letter combinations could be or would be vowel digraphs, where they're coming together to make one sound. I'm not outwardly saying the E and the A in read. I'm just saying E. So it's important to note that you can't just memorize, okay, EA is a diphthong, because it depends on what letters are surrounding those and the way you actually say it. So don't be afraid to talk to yourself when you are taking the exam. The reason fine and like and might, even though it's only one vowel, is because you get that I-Y sound.
Yeah, so then just to kind of solidify that, so a consonant blend is equivalent to a vowel diphthong. So blend is in terms of consonants and diphthong is in terms of vowels. So that's important to remember. There's no such thing as a vowel blend. So then again, some examples. So vowel diphthong, oi. So this is where I like to really practice saying my words. So in coin, I notice that my mouth moves on where both the O and the I is. So when you're saying coin, your mouth is moving twice for those sounds. So that's how you know it's a diphthong rather than a digraph, because you're not saying that one sound. You're not saying the first vowel. You're not having the first vowel say its name. So these are just some good words to practice with saying those. Same with boy or toy and destroy. You can really feel your mouth moving. So then there's also another idea that vowels can be R controlled. So when a letter is followed by R, the vowel sound is neither long nor short. It's a completely different sound. So some examples of this would be in car, the R in car, or the or in for, or the in bird. Notice how that makes a different sound with the R.
Another concept is that vowels can change the way you say them based on if there's an E at the end of the word. So an example I like to use is can versus cane, cat versus Kate, bit versus bite, kit versus kite. The way you say that initial middle vowel or earlier vowel changes if there's an E at the end.
So then C and V, so in general terms, C is for consonant, V is for vowel, and you'll see a lot of the resources that you use do have a bunch of different types of CV patterns, but CVC words are taught first to younger students, so those are words such as car, cat, sit, top, mop, map, and nap. A lot of the times these can be sight words as well, so developmentally CVC words are taught first. So again, you'll see when you're studying that there are several C and V patterns. Don't get too overwhelmed about those. I don't remember a lot being on these kinds of patterns on the FoRT, but it is important for you to know them.
So here's a nice example. We have a second grade teacher administers the spelling inventories periodically to help assess students' phonics knowledge. The following shows one student's performance on a spelling inventory at the beginning of the school year and again several months later. The student's performance on the second administration of spelling inventory indicates the student made the most improvement in which of the following areas. So we can quickly look at ones that he got right and rule those, the ones that he got wrong the second time, because if he got them wrong the second time, he's not improving. So you can send what you think is the best choice, and then we'll have one of you, if you're comfortable, take over and hopefully explain that to us. So the ones that he improved on were stir to star. He also made an error first with driv. He made it driv versus drive. And then tarn, he made it turn. So what we're really asking here is the ones that he got wrong and then got right are the ones he improved on. So we're really looking at star, peach, and turn, because those are the ones he got wrong and then got right. So what all those have in common will be our answer. So if anyone would like to either rule out or feels confident to say what they think is right, they could send that to the chat or unmute themselves. All right, so A, initial and final consonants, we don't see any problems with that anywhere. S and T, those are right. The initial and final consonants are right in all of them, all the ones you got right. Short vowels and diphthongs. So we have a long vowel in drive with that E on the end. We have a long vowel here with join, and he got that wrong. So we can rule B out. C, digraphs and blends. So we have a blend here with star. We have a blend here with drive. We have a blend here with RN. And digraphs. So improvement in terms of those blends, he got all those blends right in both tests. So we'll look down and see if D is a better fit for us. So for D, with long and R-controlled vowels, so star is an R-controlled, that A is an R-controlled vowel. He made an error, he corrected it. So that's improvement. U is an R-controlled vowel in turn, and he made an error first, and then he corrected it. So that's our improvement in R-controlled words. And then for our long vowel improvement, that E at the end turns, is what he realized turns I into a long I, versus if there was no E at the end, it would be driv. So the drive to drive with an E at the end is our long vowel improvement. In terms of digraphs, we have an error, or in terms of digraphs, we just don't have enough information. We have peach, which is one sound in the CH. It would be a digraph example, and he had that sound represented. So that's why we would rule out C, because he had blends right every time. So that's not improvement. And then for our CH being our only digraph, consonant digraph, we have that represented in both the first and second test. So hopefully that makes sense of why we would rule out C and why D would be a better answer.
So then another related question. So according to basic research-based systematic phonics instruction, which of the following common English letter combinations would be most appropriate for a first grade teacher to introduce first? So remember how we just talked about how vowels are a little more complex and they're harder to learn. So think about that as you're answering this question, and when you're ready, you can put your answer in the chat.
And think about then at the point, yep, perfect. So the reason KN is incorrect is because that's an irregularity. First, we want to teach those consistencies, those that make sense. KN just being N is unique, versus TH is a word that they're going to see a lot. They're going to see books with the, that, there. So that's a more regular blend.
Yeah, so then
or
again,
a more regular
go ahead.
digraph.
So then again, ruling out the vowels right away, because we know that that's a little more complex to teach. So the oi, which is a vowel diphthong, and the which is the R-controlled vowel. And again, they're less consistent than consonants. So the TH, the consonant blend is going to be the best option for this question. So in research-based systematic phonics instruction, phonics elements are introduced according to their utility for beginning readers. So the TH again there. Occurs most frequently in the texts which those students would see, therefore is the best letter combination out of these choices.
So which of the following strategies would be most effective in promoting a kindergarten children's ability to recognize and name letters of the alphabet? So for options here, I have a teacher says the name of a letter while children trace its shape on a cutout letter. Teacher posts the entire alphabet around the room in several different formats. Teacher reads aloud the children from books that contain mostly words that follow regular phonics patterns. And D, the teacher emphasizes the initial sounds of words when reading to children. So D, I'm going to rule out right away because emphasizing the initial sounds does not tell me that she's actually even doing anything with letters. She could read a word with the book city and car in the same sentence. And I don't know that students are understanding that those are both starting with a C. For C, the teacher reads aloud to children from books that contain mostly words that follow regular phonics patterns. Again, I don't know that follow-up there. All I know is that she's reading them out loud. So we'll see if we have a better option here. By posting the entire alphabet around the room, students are definitely going to get something out of it. They'll have the letters to refer to, but I don't know if she's matching those letters with those sounds. Recognize a name. I don't know if she's actually talking about them. All I know is that it's posted around the wall. And then for A, the teacher says the name of a letter while the children trace its shape on cutout letters. This option is the best because I know that those students are actively engaging with the letter in a one-on-one format where they're saying the letter and then they're doing an activity with it. So that's what makes A the best answer.
So again, you can look at the other options and you can notice right away that A is a very explicit way of teaching the sounds to the shape of the letter and the letter name, where B, C, and D aren't explicitly teaching the name of the letter of the alphabet and its sounds or in its name. So then as you've seen, numerous questions have more than one possible answer. So there's typically two answers that you'll get your options down to, but what'll make the difference in that is your content and vocabulary knowledge. So it'll play a really crucial role in appropriately ruling out the options. And then your understanding of relevance will also play a crucial role. So for example, fifth graders won't we'll rarely work on phonemic awareness activities or related skills such as rhyming and syllable counting. So again, keep that in the back of your head, but that does not always determine your answer. It's a good idea to go to the practice test and practice limiting or going through questions, analyzing the question. What I like to do is I like to write the vocabulary that the question is looking for and see if that correlates with one of my answers. And narrowing it down to at least 2 options. Sometimes it'll be pretty obvious because one will be a not a best practice where the other one is, but stuff like that. So you'll see that a lot, that the questions are pretty tricky. It's just very important that you know your vocabulary knowledge and you're really focusing on what the question is asking. So if it's asking about a blend and an option for an answer is a digraph, that might not be the answer, those kinds of things. And then just to finish out today, just some related vocab statistics. So again, we've showed you this before, but on the practice test, this is the number of questions with the following vocabulary words listed below. So just to give you a little weight of how much stuff is asked for on the practice test. It won't be the same on the FoRT, obviously, but just to give you a little input there.
And I bolded the things that we already have talked about. So phonics, vowel, blend, phonemic instruction, grade, activity, digraph, consonant, alphabetic principle, onset and rhymes. So hopefully you guys feel more comfortable after seeing this. We have talked about a lot of the concepts, and then the ones that are left, such as decoding, fluency, comprehension, vocabulary, those we will be talking about next time. So hopefully that makes you feel happy.
Yeah, so again, we're meeting next Wednesday to make up for the lost time that we had, and that'll be talking about decoding, fluency, automaticity, and comprehension. I did post the link to our Zoom on the Canvas site, so you don't have to look for it in your email again. So if you would prefer to do that, that is perfectly fine. But that's all we have for today, so you're good to go whenever you're ready.
I have everyone recorded on attendance. We'll stay